And welcome to Mobility Matters. I'm your host, Javier Betancourt, Executive Director of the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust, or CITT, if you will. We're the agency of Miami-Dade County charged with overseeing your half-penny sales tax for transportation. I have an amazing guest on our show today, someone I've known for many years, someone who you may recognize. He is definitely a standout in his wonderful silver hair and his wonderful branding and cheerleading for Miami-Dade County for many years. That would be Bill Talbert. Bill, welcome to the program.
Javier, thank you for the invitation. I'm glad I could waive my fee to be here today.
Well, you are a free agent, according to your
That's
LinkedIn
correct.
page, so I took that
That's
literally.
correct. That's correct. Using the sports analogy.
And the reason you're a free agent, Bill, is you have retired from many of the activities you've been
No, we don't use
involved
it.
in,
We don't use the R word,
No
that
R.
retire word. We're going to get involved in a new venture.
Well, and that's exactly it. I've never met
That's
someone less retired than you because you're still very much active.
Yes,
in
I
the
am
community.
tired, but
So, Bill, for those who don't know you, and
most people don't.
There
They
may be
know
two
they're
people
here.
living under a rock that don't know who Bill Talbot is. But for those two people, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've
Well,
done.
I'm a pretty simple guy. It's not about me. I'm always about the brand or the company. About I have these letters TETW, team effort, team win. I graduated from the University of Florida, go Gators, and also Florida Atlantic.
Hey, you and me both. Go Owls.
Yeah.
Man, we did pretty good this year. Who would have thought?
Final Four. What? And so I started in metropolitan Dade County as a park planner in 1970, before a lot of your viewers were even born. So it's I worked with the Parks Department, did bond issues there, and 1972 Decade of Progress bond issues, as a matter of fact, and then worked also with the Model Cities program in Liberty City with parks, and then went ultimately in 1986 with my mentor. I'm here today because of Merritt Sterheim. Everybody knows Merritt Sterheim.
Mm-hmm.
I went with him to Women's International Tennis.
Okay.
Global headquarters here, brought what's now the Miami Open here to the community, and then did that for 5 years, and then followed Mr. Sterheim again over to the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau in 1990, and Mr. Sterheim went off and did some other things, and then ultimately I became CEO and was CEO of the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau. A lot to say. The
GMCVB.
GMCVB, the Minister of Tourism. I was CEO for 23 years. And then David Whitaker, who many of your viewers may know, who was here with the Bureau for many years, ran the Toronto Bureau, the Chicago Bureau, and then came back home as CEO. And then when, unfortunately, our good friend, all of our friend Mike Finney passed on April 3rd, 2022, just suddenly,
Wow. Yeah,
after a trip to Israel with the team. And so on May 2nd, I became the interim CEO. They called me. I said, yeah, Mike was my friend. Mike would do it for me. And for 10 months or so, I was the interim CEO, and I've been involved with the Beacon Council from day one. Mr. Sterheim is one of the founders of the Beacon Council, so that's kind of a connection in the past. And I know many of the board members, many of the staff members there. So for 10 months, I was getting us to the other side of the river, which we did. And then a few weeks ago, after a pretty rigorous search led by Yolanda Cash Jackson, the Beacon Council's board chair, a gentleman named Rod Miller was hired after Korn Ferry search, and this guy is really good.
Yeah. I've heard nothing but great things. Haven't met him yet, but
he is really good, and he's many things. He's been involved in the different segments of economic development.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a one-trick pony. He's worked for chambers of commerce. In reverse order. He was born in a small town in South Carolina, tiny town in South, but it was a military brat. So he traveled around the world, speaks fluent Spanish and Portuguese. He's a family man. He's 45 years old, has a baby 2 years old. So he's coming from Puerto Rico, ran a new company down there, a public-private partnership. So before Puerto Rico, he was in Detroit. Before Detroit, Phoenix. Before Phoenix, New Orleans. Before New Orleans, Baton Rouge. So he's been in different places, and so he's excited to be here. We've spent a considerable amount of time with him. I believe he's the right guy at the right time. Normally, having been here for 52, 53 years, I would default to locals. But in this case, his pedigree, his experience, his knowledge in this specialized skill set, it's this economic development in bringing companies in from out of town is a specialized group. I obviously knew the tourism side and the convention side, but clearly this has got right guy at the right time. He's very knowledgeable. He's very personable. He's a family man. He plays 14 instruments. He's a man of great
14
faith.
instruments.
14 instruments.
I can't pick up one.
Yeah, well, he and I had discussions.
That's amazing.
I played percussion, and he obviously knows percussion as well. But you can go on YouTube site and see him playing the piano and the organ. But he's a real person. He's a family man. Knows this business. He knows public-private partnerships. So once again, normally I would say we got to have some locals. And, Mike Finney also, he came from out of town,
Right.
but he had a great skill set.
That's fantastic.
And so I'm confident and very supportive of Rod Miller's efforts here. He's kind of in
Well, we'll have Rod on
yeah,
for sure. So don't
he
give
is-
away all his secrets. We need to
Yeah,
ask
but
him a few
he's
questions.
this guy is he's really good. Now he'll prove that. It's not like what have you done in the past.
Right.
We know this town is what have you done for me today. We know that, and we're fine with that. But he's really good.
That's wonderful. And thank you for stepping into that interim role. I'm sure that was and probably remains very challenging environment, just given how tragic that loss was. And for someone like you, with you earned that respect in the community, not just from the public, but from the professionals who work in economic development and tourism. I think you were just a perfect choice to come in and help kind of stabilize the situation there and lead people
was
through that
traumatic.
grieving process.
It
'cause
was traumatic.
I can
mean,
imagine.
traumatic for me, traumatic for the community. We've stayed close to the family and to the Beacon staff. But I've said when their leadership called me, I said yes right away. And I've said it again. I did it for Mike. Mike would have done it for me.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
the kind of if you knew Mike,
Yeah,
he was
stand-up guy.
Yeah.
Just
and smart.
Yeah.
But didn't come across. He didn't
brag.
say he was smart.
No, absolutely.
He just once again he did it, and he was human. He was accessible, and that's what we want. And knows that. I mean, this economic development, this operation is a special skill set.
Mhm.
It's not everybody can do it. I've been in sales on tourism and conventions, and this business and companies is a little different than that.
So what are some of those key skill sets in terms
Well,
of
it's
economic
actually-
development and
It's
selling?
actually, some
the
of it
community?
is having contacts.
Yeah.
It's the old-fashioned contact. So I saw that with Mike Finney when Microsoft was down. He knew the Microsoft people. They knew him. Huh?
It's about relationships. And how do you build relationships? And you and I have talked about this, not virtually.
Well, it's about face-to-face. I
Face-to-face,
default face-to-face, and the old Zoom was just nutty. It's nutty, and I've always been a face-to-face guy.
Yeah.
And come early, stay late, and it's about the human side of what we do. There's a lot of smart people, but it's the human side of what we do, the face-to-face, knowing you, knowing your birthday, knowing your kids' names, knowing your pets' names, when you were married. I mean, does that have anything to do with business? No, it's not in the textbook, but that's the human side of what we do. So it's as I've evolved over the years, although I was always early, and always, disagree without being disagreeable.
Mhm.
And also, years ago, and having been in sales, you're in sales, we're all in sales. Everybody here is in sales. Your viewers are all in sales. So it's, we're all in the good news business. You want bad news, go over there and get it. So focus in on the good stuff. We got so many good things in this community. You know, the whole world loves Miami today.
Yeah, we're
The
hot.
whole world. You know, we're a global community. This is the most diverse community in the United States of America. What we say and said before and say again, you know, come visit Miami. We're very close to the United States.
That's it. And I have to say, Bill, no one has done more to help establish and promote this community's brand than you and the
But it was
GMCVB and
all-
now the Beacon Council.
it
And I
was-
know it was a team effort, but you got to take credit
It
where
was-
credit is due.
It was all partnership, but it was never about me.
Sure.
Would say Bill, but no, it was about the company. People understood that, and also, in terms of what I would do, nobody thought, "What's Bill up to? What's he?" You know, it was a level of trust.
Right.
So what I said was true. I could deliver, be the trusted source of information, and it was never about me. So I could make calls and bring people together because I had no agenda other than doing stuff. Never it was that question. So, and I'm proud that here I am, 52 years later, still able to say that, and that's I'm proud.
And a lot of that trust, going back to your earlier comment, is built on those relationships, right? And particularly I find in Miami, this is a relationship town. And I say that to anyone who comes in from the outside. It's about the relationship.
You know
and
what?
the trust is built on that, and then you can do business together.
You know, when Rod Miller first came to town, the new CEO of the Miami-Dade Beacon Council, I called the airport director, Ralph Coutier, on a Friday. I said, "Listen, Mr. Miller's coming in Monday morning. Can you greet him?" He says, I got a doctor's appointment, but I'll have our protocol. You know, Desmond and his team meet you out there. So I went to the gate. We had signs, MIA, Miami-Dade County, Miami-Dade Beacon Council welcomes Rod Miller, CEO, Miami-Dade Beacon Council. So we were at the gate and went on to the plane to greet him.
Wow.
He had no idea. He says, "That's the best welcome I've ever had." But that's how
And
we're
that's
different.
the first impression, which
But
is,
that's
that's
a
the most
relationship.
important.
Calling the director on a Friday
Yeah.
and have his team have professional signs and a team there to welcome him. That's what relationships do, because it's not about threatening. What's he up to?
Right.
It's about getting stuff done. So Rod Miller to this day will say, "You know what? I've never had a better welcome than what happened that first day at
That's great.
Miami International Airport because of relationships."
And there's nothing like a first impression, right? And you know that from tourism. I mean, that's the key.
Yeah.
You know, if your
so
initial experience is a negative,
also,
it's hard to
whether
recover
it's
from that.
CITT or any of your viewers, is distinguish yourself from the competition.
Yeah.
That's everything we do. So what distinguishes you? Not that you're better,
right? Unique.
but that what makes you different.
Yeah.
But if you can't do that as a person, as a family, as a company, get out. If you're just like everybody else, then, but distinguish yourself. It's not better. It's what you bring to the table. And also another thing, never go negative. Never, never, never. If you go negative, I do not allow myself or my teams ever to go negative. It's all about positive. What is good about us, not what's bad about them.
You could use a lot more of that in the world right now.
Yeah,
Let's
but
be
you don't
honest.
have to, it's about sell yourself.
Sure.
That does it. Not that they're bad.
Yeah.
They got assets, but never go negative. And so I've never done it. And if anybody had ever gone negative on us, and my team knew that, that's a sign of weakness on their part. Right. We're in the good news business, and well, this community's had its ups and downs, and still look at this place. Once again, the entire world loves Miami today. The entire world.
We are booming, baby.
Yeah. And it's ours to lose. I think for the viewers, have customer service, welcome people, be nice, nice matters.
Yeah.
It's another sign I used to have in my office, because nice matters. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Don't be nasty. Don't be nasty. Be nice. Somebody's nasty to you, just remember, we're in the good news business.
Sure.
It reflects upon them. And that's just my personal style over time, not to say it's right, but once again, this community, we've had some tough times. You were here for tough times. We've gone through cycles, but at the end of the day, it's just stay with it.
Right.
Get the message, get the program, acknowledge issues. Don't say no, there's nothing bad or nothing. Acknowledge issues. I'll give you an example about transportation.
Yeah, I was going to say, at some point we need to get to
I'm
transportation.
going to talk about transportation. You know, a lot of people say, or your viewers will say, you know, all this traffic, it's terrible. To which I say, proudly, you know what? Years ago, we didn't have these traffic issues. I was here then. You know why?
People were leaving and not coming.
Nobody was here.
Yeah.
Nobody was here. Which would you rather have? All of the great communities in the world today travel the world. Your viewers travel the world. We all do. They all have these issues.
Right.
So it's
It's a sign of success. I mean, let's be honest. So
what happens is you grow, you outpace your ability to keep the infrastructure up. Although you think about it, we have Metro Rail, we have Metro Mover, we have things that we forget, like the tunnel. The tunnel, our first public-private partnership.
the port tunnel.
The port tunnel, thank you. And Heidi Webb will tell you, without that port tunnel, the development that's going on at the port today could not take place.
Not just the port, downtown, because all those trucks were unloaded
Absolutely,
onto
you're right.
downtown and creating a mess.
Yeah. So, but you know, let's acknowledge, you know, the good things that have happened, and we love the trolleys, and we got the SMART plan, and we've got MDX. But but I think the good news is, you know, the community recognizes we're to deal with it, and there's a variety of programs, including your fine work, that helps us get there. But in the old days, we didn't have it because nobody was here. Nobody wanted to come here. And so this is a sign of success. And, you know, whenever you talk to your friends, wherever they are, oh, traffic is terrible here, wherever they are in these great communities. So that's, but you also, I'm in the good news business and the success. Look at Brightline.
Right.
That's high-speed rail. They can't call it. I can. High-speed rail. So here we are in a community in the U.S. that has high-speed rail. What was the public investment in that?
There was some. So I know we invested some funds into the Aventura Station and Miami Central Station, but a very small percentage compared to the overall
Teeny
project cost.
tiny.
Very small.
Teeny tiny.
Largely private investment.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's so we're a big fan of high-speed rail and use that in our sales and in the Beacon Council sales to show that, you know, we have, you know, forward-thinking programs and, you know, your oversight and the half penny and all this stuff. So it's that's the good news of what we're doing. But, you know, if you take some of the transportation stuff that's been done, take credit for it and relish it, but then talk about here's what we're going to do in the future. But not to say, well, oh, it's terrible, nothing's happened.
Right.
Not true.
Not true.
Not true. People want, you know, if you say it long enough, nothing's happened. But, you know, look around. Stuff has happened. Stuff is happened. Look at the BRT in South Dade. You know, all the way. We were in Homestead a few weeks ago, right there by City Hall Station.
Yeah, under construction, looking
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's let's stay in the good news business, you know, because nice matters.
So wearing,
I got transportation,
Thank you. No, now we're going to continue on that thread.
Yeah.
So wearing that hat, wearing
including
your,
bikeways too, by the way.
we're going to get into bikes too if we have time. So wearing that Beacon Council and GMCVB hat that you've worn so well, from that perspective, looking at that in the intersection of economic development, tourism, and transportation, what in your mind is the greatest challenge / opportunity to help promote economic development and tourism via investments in transportation? Like, what's if you could, if you had a magic wand and you could make one thing happen,
I don't think you
what
ever
would it be?
want to have a total shutdown and gridlock.
Sure.
If you have gridlock, you know, that's not good. So we can't get to the stage where the community shuts down. I mean, and you go into New York, it takes you an hour to go cross town. Cross town, an hour. So I think and then it's those kind of negative stories that stay out there that our enemies point at, say, look. So I think it's it's always investment in infrastructure. You have the federal infrastructure law now, and there hasn't been a lot written about that, but there's a lot of money I think is coming, whether it's coming through the state or coming directly in that first time ever in a long time, a U.S. government federal infrastructure program that's going to provide hundreds of millions of dollars here that you're familiar with, that that maybe they're not going to get credit for, but it's about investing in infrastructure. It's investing in, you look at these projects take a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I started in the county in 1970, 72. We had Metro Rail on the bond issue, Decade of Progress bond issue. And so, these are long-term projects, but if you don't start, you don't finish.
Right.
If you don't start, you don't finish, and you gotta, woe is me. And so it's about, it's about investing in infrastructure. Don't give up. Don't give up.
Right.
This is a hopeful town. It's a town that can see the future, and I think those who have been around in the really, really bad days, this is we did have positioning and everything, and there were a lot of people who had a hand in this, but right now the world loves us. If you look at Miami International Airport, another transportation, at its peak, it's the only airport in the country served by more than 100 airlines.
Wow.
Not any others.
Wow.
Includes cargo, but that's part of our business model. And so, if I say in sales, Beacon Business, others,
Sure.
it's this town is the easiest town to get in and out of in the United States, period, because of that connectivity. It's about what's called lift. That's the highway into our community. So thank you, MIA. I think that's a part. That's transportation. Cruise capital of the world, the downtown port. Billions of dollars of private investment. That's not happening anywhere in the world. Those terminals, I'm a big cruiser. Ports have a terminal for the whole port. This has terminals for each cruise line.
Mm-hmm.
And you see these architectural wonders, and more coming. And this is once again, the tunnel permitted that and supported it. The cruise capital of the world, we own that phrase, and it's a downtown port.
And those cruisers, maybe they're going other places, but they may stay earlier in Miami, they may stay after, and it's a good first impression, and they'll come back, right?
Well,
So it's all about making that first impression.
Let me tell you, the cruise passenger is, as a sector, the number one consumer of hotel rooms in this town year-round.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Now, it's a bit of rated business. It's not some of it's a weekend, but that's when, business is during the week. So it's
So prior to and after the cruise, they're staying in our hotels.
well, some of it's a program, pre and post, and the Bureau has that program, but also just the fact of, to get on a cruise, you have to come in early if you're traveling internationally or domestically. It's just the logistics of doing that. But next time you're, particularly on a Friday or a Monday, or Saturday and Sunday, and you're downtown, look at those folks with the luggage.
Yeah.
A lot of them are cruisers.
Bill, we're running out of time, and I did want to get one more thing in, although I have another 10 questions for you, so you'll have to come back.
Listen, I'll waive my fee again. But thank you for the great job you're doing. I know
you,
I've seen you, and I've seen you at other jobs, but you're the perfect guy for this job. The Citizens Independent Transportation Trust. Trust is the operative word, and citizens. Thank you for what you guys do.
I appreciate that. Thank you. One last thing. So you talked about investing in infrastructure, but we also invest in people.
Yes.
And one of the ways that you've done that in your career is through the United Way. Talk to us about that.
Well, I guess it's 45. I used to have the Red Book. It's every year. In fact, I think when I was at the county, we had our first $1 million United Way program. I was able to lead that for Mr. Stierheim. But we believe. In fact, I remember in all of my speeches to the companies, I actually, the United Way is for everybody. I adopted my daughter, my beautiful daughter Amy, through the Catholic Services Bureau, which is a United Way assisted program. So it's for everybody. So, and it's well run, it's well managed, and it's the top United Way in the country. So it's that's why from day one.
I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
just in terms of amount raised, or
No, is in terms of, I think the depth and breadth of its program,
Okay.
its reach, its oversight, its management. Remember, they build a school.
Yeah.
They build a school, and so a lot of innovative things they've done, and we've known all the leaders, but I think it's 45 years of donating to the United Way. I'm in the Tocqueville Society, because I believe in it. Once again, you got to give back,
Absolutely.
and I'm glad you brought that up. Not about take, give, and once again, the United Way is it's for everybody. Everybody going to have. Here's a Catholic Service Bureau, Bill Talbert, adopting years ago. My daughter's now 47. That's how long we've been doing this.
Wow.
How long we believe in the program.
That's amazing. So let's end there, Bill. And I just want to thank you not only for being a guest on the program, but for everything you've done in your career, both at the Beacon Council, GMCVB, at Miami-Dade County, and even through nonprofits such as the United
And you
Way.
don't know
Thank you.
where I'm going to land next.
No, absolutely. This
I'm
is
looking
just the
for
beginning.
a job. Anybody has
This
I'm
is
looking
just-
for a job.
He is a free agent.
Free agent.
Emphasize the word free for now, but at some point he'll be charging.
High draft choice. High draft choice.
Sir, thank you very much.
Javier, thanks
Pleasure
for
and
your
an honor.
leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And thank you all for joining us here on Mobility Matters. As a reminder, we're here every 2 weeks, every other Thursday at 9 a.m. So thank you for joining us. And if you're interested in learning more about us at the CITT or our show, visit us at www.miamidade.gov/CITT. Thank you and have